morning, good morning. We said good morning already, so that was just like a warm-up, a secondary good morning. It feels good to be back here. So for those who don't know, Kate and I drug our two kids out to Darlington, England for the past 4 months. And so we just got back at the beginning of January. I'll share that the countryside, the time was beautiful and pleasant. But we again realized that traveling with kids is a lot of work. We're also reminded that raising kids is best done within a community. So it feels really good to be back amongst our community. And also to be here to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Columbus, Indiana. We are your nurturing group of compassionate searchers who thrive on diversity, intellectual and spiritual growth, and commitment to courageous action. So no matter what have moved you to come here today, know this, that you are welcome in this space. If this is your first time to be with here, please take a moment to fill out a guest card so we can keep you in the loop of upcoming activities, and feel free to stay after the service to introduce yourself and for some conversation. Tomorrow is it's Earth Day. No, it's a holiday. What is tomorrow? Anyone know? I think I heard it from somebody. Tomorrow is a holiday. Martin Luther King Day. Yes. What do we do on Martin Luther King Day? We like get a basket with candy. What is it? What does it mean? Anybody want to offer service or doing stuff? We go to school. Tomorrow is school day, Lewis? No, we're going to build a bonfire tomorrow, finally, right? Yeah, so we get a day off school. So it probably means different things to different people. For some, it is a day off of school, or for work, it's like another Sunday. For some, it's a time to learn and to reflect on the events in Alhambra, Alabama, on Montgomery buses and Selma streets, only 58 years ago in 1965. And for some, it's a time to learn of struggle present in 2023 in Columbus, Indiana, or Indianapolis, or Washington, D.C. Today, we'll be talking about a rather common theme, something we talk a lot about here at UU, which is love. Love not created, but acknowledged. Accepted, we allow love in to be a central bond between yourself and your neighbor. To let this perception of division we have amongst ourselves, our feeling of self, fade until we can see young again, seeing the true oneness within all of us. With oneness, there is hope that we not only see, but embrace the disconnect, the injustice and imbalance that's present today. Within that oneness, there is hope that tomorrow will bring service, that will bring action, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So today, let us listen, let us be open.
I am so glad to see you all today. It's been a while since I've gotten to share just a story with you. Nixie, would you like to open the Wonderbox? Okay, let's see what's in there. You can pull something out. You can pull one thing out. Each of you pull one thing out. Wow. Can you show people what those are? A toothbrush, streamers. Those seem like odd things to have in the Wonderbox on Sunday morning. What do you think? They're kind of odd. Well, what if, go ahead and have a seat. What if you were listening to the radio? Go ahead and have a seat down here. If you were listening to the radio and you heard someone say, there is a party in the park today, bring your toothbrush. What might you think was happening? A toothbrush party. What else? Maybe like Good Dental Hygiene Week, you know, and they're trying to keep everybody involved. You guys can come have a seat so you'll be able to see. A tooth party. What else might people think was going on? Cleaning the grout. You were going to have to use those toothbrushes and do some chores. What do you think? Dentist appointment? Someone's tooth fell out. Well, what if I told you that that was actually a code to signal one of the beginning of one of the largest, most successful nonviolent protests in American history? True story. And now, what if I told you that the people protesting were your age? Some of them were as young as 4 and no older than 18. Is that wild? All right. Well, you should know that it was 1963. Let me tell you the story from Birmingham, Alabama. And in that time, that was a long time ago. That was 60 years ago. Okay, 60 years ago this year, that a young Black child could not do many of the things that you kids might not think twice about doing today. This little girl would tell her friends, I can't play on the same playground as white children. I can't go to their schools. I can't drink water from the water fountains. There are so many things I can't do. But on a warm spring night, her family went to church. And they weren't there for regular services. They were there to see this person speak. And this is actually a real photo from that time. Do you guys know who that is? That's Reverend, we can't forget he was a minister, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And this was on that night when they all came to hear him speak. He wanted to raise an army of peaceful protesters to fight for freedom. His brown eyes flashing fire and love. Dr. King told us the time had come to march. Well, have any of you guys ever marched? Yeah? So Mama was worried. If I march, I'll lose my job. Sure enough. I can't march, Daddy said. I have a family to feed. The weight of the world rested on their shoulders. But this burden, this time, did not have to be theirs to bear. I don't have a boss to fear, my brother said, or a job to lose. We can march this time. We'll be Dr. King's army, I said. I'll be fine, Daddy, I promised. Don't worry, Mama. Dr. King and some other adults did not like the idea of the children being put in harm's way. He was a dad after all, too. But he said, even though they were young, they were not too young to want freedom. Let the children march. Let them lead the way. On May 7th, a sunny Thursday, boys and girls, sisters and cousins, friends met at the church, dressed in their best with their feet ready. Do you have ready feet? Ready feet to march? You're going to need those marching feet later, I promise. Hand in hand, we marched, so frightened, yet certain of what was right for freedom. On and on and on we marched. We marched. We marched. Hate dogged my heels that day, its yellow canine teeth sharp, but courage walked by my side and kept me going. Disperse, or you'll be jailed, the police shouted the first day. Disperse, or you'll get wet, the police shouted the second day. Disperse, or we'll release the dogs, the police shouted the third day. We did not disperse. We kept on. What do you think they were doing? kept on marching. We wouldn't stop till things started to change. Hundreds of us went to jail on the first day, and even more on the second. My turn wasn't till the third day, after I was sprayed by water, stronger than anything I've ever felt. Rough hands pushed me forward, and I fell to my knees in the police wagon. I was going to jail. Think about that. This little girl going to jail. Yeah, that's right. Dr. King reassured our parents, "Don't worry about your children," he said. "They're going to be all right. Don't hold them back if they want to go to jail, for they're doing a job not only for themselves, but for all of America and all of mankind." That night, crowded in jail, in a cell too small for even half of the kids, we sang, "We shall overcome. We shall overcome." And they sang, "Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around." And they sang, "Freedom is coming." Our parents couldn't be there with us, but still we sang, wrapped in the proud and loving arms of our ancestors. I was still in jail, but do you know what I heard the next day? More kids marched, and the water hoses they used could sting us, but they could not stop our fierce tide. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna keep on marching. Turn the other cheek, we've been taught. Show love when there is hate and where there is hate. The world watched as hate bruised us. But for 7 days we walked, only in love. The jail swelled to bursting, and even President Kennedy took notice. Daddy said the president received letters and calls about us from all over the world. Our march would become a memory, a small part of a much bigger story. But we had been heard, and the seeds of revolution were sown. 2 days and nights I stayed in jail. Could you imagine that? At your age, 2 days and 2 nights being in jail. Yeah, but that would be sad to be away from your family for that long, right? And when I left, I was tired and sore. You might be too, right? And my best dress was ripped, but my smile was as wide as the Mississippi River. I had made a difference. "I'm so proud of you, baby girl," Mama said. "Your march was what made them see." With nothing more than our feet, we all got feet, right? And voices and courage, we had done what others could not. Change was right around the corner. We felt it like a cool breeze in an Alabama August. On May 10th, the great news rang out. Dr. King had reached an agreement with the white leaders of the city. Desegregation would begin. And so you remember that same little girl from the beginning of the story who couldn't do all those things? Well, 1 month later, she was playing on the playground she had never been able to play on before. 2 months later, her family ate at a diner that they had never been allowed to eat at before. And their march made a difference, and children led the way, singing the songs of freedom, 1,000 strong. Can you imagine 1,000 kids all gathered together? So those children of Birmingham won. The children did that. Do you guys ever feel sometimes like you're kind of small and insignificant and can't do something? Well, you look back, those kids, they're the ones who led that change. They're the ones who did that. And there were many movement leaders that played a part. But that real change was made by thousands of young people willing to risk everything in pursuit of a better world. We may not know all of their individual names, but we know their bravery and their power, and they deserve our celebration. And so to celebrate these thousands of brave people, we propose that just as the children did, we raise our voices. Singing reminds us of the power we have individually to make noise and change, and the power we all have as a group to increase our volume and presence in numbers. Everyone can sing. Believe me, I don't sing necessarily in key, but I can sing, okay? In my own way. We can clap, we can march, right? And we want you all to know that you have a place for responsibility in the fight for justice.
I'd like to offer a reading to start from J. Abernathy Jr. It's entitled, "Love is Our Greatest Purpose." We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a sacred, every day as a beloved community. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life. I wanted to pose out a question. It's a little bit of a random one, so bear with me for just a second. I'm interested to know, what is your dream job? And think about it for a second and just watch those thoughts that are coming in to your head right now. Maybe it's something specific, something that you've tattooed on your arm, probably not, but you've had in your mind for a very long time. Maybe there's some things that are coming into your head which are general characteristics, things that would be dreamy. Free ice cream on Fridays. Hold on to those thoughts for a moment. Write them on kind of a mental sticky note and stick them onto the side here for a second. The reason I think about that is that once a year, I hold a day-long planning session for the team that I manage at work. I lead exercises of reflection and introspection, so we set out with intention throughout the year with meaningful goals that we can hold to make our lives at work, our team, be more productive, which we then can have a more enjoyable year ahead of us. As a side initiative for this year, I asked my team to share a presentation identifying their dream job. While I admit I was secretly hoping that their dream job would be working for Kevin, I did check my disappointment to find out on Friday to hear things like a private detective, the Zamboni driver, which comes up a lot, a travel agent, and et cetera, and et cetera. Does anyone want to share their dream job? Rock star, good one. Well, another rock star? A band, okay, incoming. Any other dream jobs? Ice cream eater, is that what it was? A pianist? You won at life already. Cool. Well, let me see a show of hands. If someone came up to you with a job offer for your dream job, would you take it? And for those who are retired, it's kind of a funny question, because then it's like tricking you to get back to work. So 2 hands. Would anyone not want to do their dream job? I'll ask that question. No. So we all want, one person doesn't want to work. Yeah, that's good. You've got lots of years ahead of you. So nobody would pass up on their dream job. Everyone wants to do their dream job. Okay. So let me tie this back here a little bit. The themes present in my team's presentation and maybe going around in your head included having fun, making lots of money, leveraging personal interests, even one guy, explosions. I don't know. While creating my own presentation, I started in looking for data. And I wanted to see how certain characteristics relate with job satisfaction, making a jump of conclusions that high job satisfaction relate with a dream job. I found some convincing data supported by the University of Oxford, which shows predictors of high job satisfaction are in order. Work you're good at, work that helps others, engaging work, being surrounded by supportive colleagues, no major negatives like donating an arm, a job that aligns with your personal life. Those are key predictors of high job satisfaction, statistically. So not due to someone's opinion, but those were polls. It's not very surprising that good jobs relate with work that you don't stink at. I was a little surprised, however, to see the top predictor of high job satisfaction is altruism, helping others. It wasn't low stress, high pay, low effort, short hours, etc., free ice cream. It's helping others. Data shows that your dream job will be one which helps others. Said another way, if you are helping others or find ways to help others within your job, it is a path to make that job a dream job. Not my opinion statistically. Sorry to tell you this. If you were really excited about becoming a hot air balloon pilot because you thought it would be fun, I'm sorry, that's not your dream job. You're going to, Nick's going to love this. You're eventually going to become deflated. That was an easy one. Nick will be proud of me. Your dream job is one which uses your talents to help others. And you may be thinking, I'm really good at accounting. How does that help others? Well, the same source that I'm quoting, it's 80,000hours.org, advises there are 3 ways that you can help others within your career. If not already in a philanthropic line of work, these ways are as follows. So independent of your career, your job, how you spend your time, you can use your political influence. You vote. Number 2, you encourage others around you to do the same thing. This is called being a multiplier. If you have action and convince others to take similar action, you are therefore multiplying your ability to be influential in the world around us. A study I read to show the significance of the number 3 item, which is giving money, looks to try to prove statistically the effect that you can be influential regardless of your career. It looked at a comparison of being that accountant, a typical college graduate, setting aside 10% of their money to supporting an initiative which arguably makes a significant impact. And this was in a malaria foundation. And they showed that that college graduate who puts aside 10% of its earnings can save one person's life per year. And of course, then extrapolating over 40 years, then throughout their career, it can save 40 lives. In comparison to that doctor, and there's data behind it which relates the number of hours prolonged that a doctor can offer a typical pool of patients. A typical doctor can save 5 lives over their career. And so that accountant can be 8 times more influential in this metric of saving lives than becoming a medical doctor. You might be feeling I'm getting a little bit off our theme of love and the recognition that we have a lot to do to destroy disenfranchised systems. But I wanted to drive this point home for myself in this day tomorrow, this day of action, this day of service, and hopefully for yourself, that nothing is getting in the way of answering the call of love. Not time, not talent, even pursuing your dream job is answering the call of love. I'll leave here with a short quote from Martin Luther King Jr. from a sermon that he wrote entitled 3 Dimensions of a Complete Life. He said, "Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness."
So that song, There Is More Love Somewhere. I've heard sometimes some congregations will try to change it and to say there's more love right here. And I'm not going to get into that, but what I will say is there's an importance in there being lament. There is more love somewhere, right? Other than what is going on right now, which sometimes can be hard and tough. And when we look at it, acknowledging that what is happening is not okay. And so to lament is often underappreciated form of prayer. Longing for what is not yet, yearning for what is absent, ultimately affirms hope. I'm going to keep on till I find it, right? That pulls us out of complacency, right? That pulls us to say, I'm going to keep on moving on till I find that. I've been going back and listening to some of Dr. King's sermons. Now, let me remind you, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., okay? You know, in the preface of the book I'm listening to, that is a collection of his sermons, you know, I am not a minister, okay? But I'm really glad to be in a place that is anchored in shared collaborative ministry. Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you, UCCI. Okay. But this man, this prophetic voice that we honor, was a minister himself. He was a preacher, a pastor. He was the son of a preacher and pastor, the grandson, the great-grandson. It is deep in who he was and the legacy that carries forward. And let us not forget that. And so it is very clear that when he speaks, when we go back and we read things, they are anchored in love. That just permeated everything he did. When he talked about the evils that we're facing in the world, here we are 60 years later, still talking about poverty and racism and war. This year is 60 years since those events of 1963. In October, I had the honor to get to go to Birmingham, Alabama, and to get to walk 16th Street Baptist Church and to go to Kelly Ingram Park. And there is something about me learning that story of the Children's March, which I didn't know, kids, when I was your age. So you're already ahead of me, okay? And I learned it somewhere along the way. But I've revisited that story. And when later coming up in our sabbatical work, we're going to be talking about the spirit of place. There is spirit in ordinary places. There is sacredness in ordinary places. When I was able to be in that park and walk and know the stories of what happened in that park, it affected my heart. I was able to get out of my mind and into my heart and feel that story. I was able to imagine myself as a child, imagine my own children walking at that time and in that park. I imagined what it must have been like to go into that church and to be so called and to answer that call of love, to climb out of school windows. Yep, they did. Did you know that? Because some of the adults in their life wanted to protect them. And so back then you could chain the doors shut to the school. And those kids said, I'm going to be a part of this. This is something I can do, and I'm going to make change. And so they leapt joyfully out of some of these windows and were out there marching and singing. And what they would also do, in case you didn't know, they would be really quiet. Right? But then when those police came to arrest them and put them in jail, then they would unleash those voices and sing. And I might have imagined that might have upset some of those police officers that they were joyfully singing. And wasn't that the point? Children are still leading the way today. Children are leading the way when we look at Miss Flint, crying out that there is still not clean water in Flint, Michigan. when we listen to the kids of Parkland who say guns don't belong in our schools, when we are listening to water protectors and young climate activists who are telling us, get involved, speak up, show up, vote, get out there. We need you. We are the future, and we need you to come join us. So when your bones are weary and tired, adults, remember, one of the best things you can do is to see children, to hear children, to believe children. Help them make the posters. Help them lead with love and walk alongside them. Be the wind in their sails. Be that safe person who goes, I hear you. I understand that makes your heart hurt and you want to do something. Let's figure it out together. Kevin was talking about dream jobs. Well, this is mine. And one of the things is because of that right there, I get to be with children. I get to be with families. And the fact that kids know I'm a safe person to come to, they can share dreams with me. They can share fears with me. And we're going to hold those things in our heart. And we're going to find a way. We're going to keep on whatever path is ahead, and they are not alone. So with that, I want us to think a little bit about how we all move forward. Will we continue to march to the drumbeat of conformity and respectability, or will we listen to the beat of a more distant drum? Move to its echoing sounds? Will we march only to the music of time, or will we, risking criticism and abuse, march to the soul-saving music of eternity? In the strength of love, this is what Dr. King asks us. We remember Martin for all of the things he accomplished in his very short life. But when he was preaching in Ebenezer Baptist Church in 1968, just a few months before his life would be tragically cut short, he started to talk about his funeral. And one of the things he said that he would like is, I'd like for somebody to say that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love somebody. And he also said, after just having accepted the Nobel Peace Prize, that we should not dwell on life's achievements, but to be remembered as one who tried to give his life serving others. He implored his congregation to remember his attempts to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and comfort prisoners. Yes, if you want to say I was a drum major, he said, then I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace. I was a drum major for righteousness, and all the other shallow things will not matter.